So, you've got pick number 1 of your draft. Who are you taking this year? Are you taking the Joker, Nikola Jokic? Are you taking Victor Wembanyama? Or are you taking SGA? Well, a bunch of analysts, all hosted by Josh Lloyd from Basketball Monster and Locked In Fantasy Basketball. Analysts walked into a bar, or well, to a mock draft room, and a bunch of Josh's followers jumped in. This was a wild one. I had pick 1, and if you have pick 1, and if you have Nikola Jokic, if you have him like I do on my big board at number 1 and want to build your draft around it, you want to make sure you check this episode out, and I'll put out my number 1, my homegirl, well, my homeboy, D-Mac. He's coming up with you after this. We're going to break down the draft. I'm getting his first thoughts on my mock draft, the Joker build. Coming at ya. Hello, D-Mac. How are we?
Matty Gee, how are you? Look, I can be your home girl if you want me to, but I'll be your home.
No, I don't want you to be your home girl. Do I look like paint me like one of your French analysts? Do we know many French analysts? I mean, I know there's French analysts, but not yet.
Not yet. We will after this episode.
After this episode, we'll be like, hey, put me on. Like, can you speak to me in French? Je parle français, un petit peu. Look, we are here to break down more Serbian than we are French, because I took Nikola Jokic, and this was all inspired by our episode last week. If you haven't checked it out yet, where we talked about perfect pairs, and I was given the opportunity to put this to the test. Last week on that episode, I said a really great second round fit late in the second round because he's falling in drafts. So we've just done that Yahoo show. Check that one out about their rankings, where you can pick up, if you punt 3 points made and blocks, you can pick up LeBron James 2 pair, almost 2 near, well, 1 definite triple-double machine, but you can get one who can put in the triple doubles or gets close to. I think LeBron has more near triple doubles than anyone else in his career at this point. This was a bit of a test of that theory, wasn't it, D-Mac?
It absolutely was. And you got yourself a nice crew of analysts and some viewers or fans of Josh Lloyd as well. So really interesting to see how you put that to the test in terms of the perfect pairs.
Yeah, look, and I really did for this one. And again, I banked it on here. And if you can see on the screen right now, I did. This is me, MBAG Wiz, obviously picking number 1. And my team turned it out. Let me go to my roster. Let me go to where I finished out with at the end of the day on this one. Because at the end of the day, what it all comes down to is, who did you end up with? Like, Matty, where did you come with your draft? Well, I had Jokic, LeBron James, Cooper Flagg, Jamal Murray, Josh Hart, Jarrett Allen, Miles Bridges, Jalen Suggs-Late, Shaedon Sharpe, Kyrie Irving, Stephon Castle, Kyle Filipowski, and then a bit of a sideways turn here because you know that there was some shenanigans. Papi Roy, you shout out to your boy Papi Roy for me, mate.
My boy, oh yeah, we go way back, Papi Roy. But what happened with him?
Papi was in this draft and then got removed from this draft, so we're all set to go on this one. At 11 o'clock in the morning. We ended up drafting like 20, 25 minutes later, and I was on my way to a christening. And so I am trying not to draft in the church. I am out the front being like, I'm gonna be straight in. I'm gonna be like, no, you
I thought maybe you
right
would have been
now.
taking Christian Brown and Amen Thompson to go along with the theme.
No, I was, bless up, no, I didn't know, I could have done something a little bit more, safer than that. I could have played it Marcus Smart, but I didn't. And I had to draft on the fly for my last couple picks. So it didn't exactly go the way that I wanted for my last 3. I was like, these are guys in my queue. These are guys I'm curious about. Stuff it. I'll go there. And then I would get really angry in the church when I realized that, like, I'm slipping into auto draft almost. And I had Aaron Gordon in my list. And then I take Klay Thompson by mistake. I'm like, come on. Ooh. But I've got some fun stacks in here as well. And that's another thing. But this is how the team shaped out. Tell me now, let's go through the first round. I want from you, D-Mac, this is the first time you're seeing it full on.
First time I'm seeing it, yep.
This is the first time I'm seeing it. I want big anomalies for you going through the rounds, what you think of the builds, where you think I finished up with, because on projected standings, I did pretty well out of this one. And Josh won this one. It was his own one. He had his own projections in line there. I know that he won this one. Alex Baratha came second. And then there was a pack of us headed by a few that came up next, and it was a tight race. So let's go through it. Jokic, Wemby, Shea, Giannis, who we've just discussed in Yahoo, he has just skyrocketed up into like the top 3.
Yeah, he's actually got a pre-rank of 2, which we discussed in that show as well. So make sure you check that out. But a 2 feels like a points league pick for us, but it's still a solid, probably top 4, top 5 guy.
And this is where the things pretty much played out with analysts and guys. Obviously, now if Josh is tweeting out like, "Hey guys, jump in one," these are some really savvy dudes. So these are people who or dudettes, however you want to be, who have just jumped into this mock draft straight away. Papi couldn't do it, and Josh was like, "Yeah, we're back in 10 minutes, 15 minutes." I'm like, "It might be 15 minutes, but he's had to redraft, send out an email invite. They've had to join, jump into this live." It was filled up with people like, let's call them hoop heads, like fantasy savants, one would say, D-Mac.
One would say savants as well.
Nothing stands out here though from there because Luka, Ant Edwards, Cade, Davis, these are all the rounds we just spoke about in that Yahoo show. And this was a week ago before these Yahoo rankings came out. Davis, Towns, Trae Young. This is where it gets a little bit saucy. So Kingy, our homie, he took Trae Young here, locking down assists and trying to get some guards on the board and some bigs. This was a good build from Kingy. I'll talk to Kingy's build, and then I'll come back to Josh's in a second because these are 2 other ones that I really liked as well as Alex Baratha's build.
Yeah, absolutely. And we discussed Trae Young as well, and just the plethora of point guards and the assist guys at the end of the first round. But Trae Young, I'm high on Trae Young. You're not as high, but I like what Kingy's done there. He's gone Trae Young into J-Dub, and J-Dub feels a little bit early, but you can see that he's got a nice build throughout the draft. Probably the first real pick that stands out for me is our guy, Amen Thompson, 5th pick of the second round.
Yeah, there you go. The big one that steps out in the second round. And tying this up, this was good picking as well by Barbecue. This is what we've advised as well. Barbecue chicken right here. We've spoken about this because we did speak about when you're at the end of the first round, you can get a bunch of these guys. Like you can get a Steph Curry and a Devin Booker around this kind of zone, or you could get someone else around this one, like maybe like a Trae or a James Harden. Cade is now out of that. So if these guys have gone, you can get James Harden. It's now seems to be the fact that James Harden, D-Mac, has moved into consensusly first round territory, especially if Alex Baratha is paying him. But putting him with Booker feeds back to the 2-guard theory. Barbecue Chicken has done that as well. Before Jalen Williams going off the board, Tyrese Maxey, who you know that I like. And this was the highest, by the way. Shout out to our good friend, Steve St. Pierre. What's up, Saint? This was the highest that I had seen Tyrese Maxey go. That was 15th overall. This is probably where he'll settle come draft day.
And we just did the Yahoo rankings, and he's actually 14th in their preseason ranks. So Steve St. Pierre's ahead of the game there.
100%. This is the big one here. Amen Thompson. This has drafted him at the absolute upside. I know we've caused a divide with where he can go and how great he can be. These are some big ones here. LaMelo, him going off here, and LaMelo Ball was like, what is going on? Because we've got Kevin Durant. This is where Kevin Durant is a mid-second rounder, but a potential first-round guy. So right here, if you are Cool J's man or Hoop Wizard or Mitchie as he or just Yay as he likes to now be called after the draft, this is a great pickup for Kevin Durant in the second round here.
Yeah, I love that. I think he's probably closer to end of first round, start of second round. So middle of second round. I like it. Yes, new team, and there's probably a little bit more talent on that team, all-round talent, particularly on the wings. But I know that he's going to be the leader. So mid-second round feels fantastic value for KD.
Domantas Sabonis, who I've seen in the ADP value of Yahoo, is like a top 10 player. This is probably where he starts to go in category leagues drafts. Noah Rubin taking him here as the 8th pick in the second round. Jalen Johnson, we've seen him going about here. This is, can I just say, I love this. This is Evan Mobley going with Shea. This is where Evan Mobley's returning some value, a top 20 player going at top 20 player, probably potentially this year going at 21. Seems on board. But this is what I really loved. This was where the perfect pairs show really stood out, because I said last week that I think my perfect pair for Victor Wembanyama is Jaren Jackson Jr. I do not know if Eric underscore or Eric even without an underscore listen to my advice, but I said this was a great perfect pair, and you can see that he's really lent into that with the pickings there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did lean into it. He saw our show and he thought, let's go JJJ. Yeah, there's some question marks around his health coming into the season. I
Yeah.
think he'll play opening night, to be
Yep.
honest. So I wouldn't drop him down my board, but you could see other drafts perhaps leaning towards dropping him a little bit, perhaps into the third round. But end of the second round, I don't mind that at all, particularly with that Wembanyama build.
Yeah, look, he's had that turf toe surgery. He's not specified in or out yet in training camp and how that's going to shake out. I have him as definitely a second round pick this year within my top 20. I don't say top 20, I say top 24 within my first 2 rounds of picks. And I see that's a really good compliment. We said in that last show that we did that between Victor Wembanyama and Jaren Jackson Jr. returning a bare minimum of 1.5 blocks per game and 3.5 blocks a game, between them, obviously the 3.5 being Victor Wembanyama, that is 5 blocks per game locked down within your first 2 picks. And if you could complement that later, like he does in the 4th round with Miles Turner, now that's a lot of focus there. You'd like to see him pick up some other value elsewhere, especially on that Pascal Siakam pick on his 3rd round in the next one, because it was 3rd round reversal, but that fits it. But this was really going into like where I thought my theory of perfect pairs was, because I did want to, as I said at the top of the show, 2 MVPs, 2 of the most prolific MVP owners of the last couple of years, not the last couple of years, but a few years in Nikola Jokic and LeBron James. And if you want to be an MVP, make sure you like and subscribe and get all of the premium content right here on Believe in Fantasy. The links are down below. DMAC, they get your home phone number, they get your address of your work address, so they can just show up at your workplace holding up a sign saying, please fix my
I look
team.
forward to that. Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to that.
That's a fun thing. You get pictures of my dog Dasher occasionally, but you also get access to expert intel from myself, Robin, our whole team of Believe in Fantasy things on our Discord. There's weekly question and answers. We get to fix your team for you. If you need advice, we are here for you. Make sure you like and subscribe to all things Believe in Fantasy and get that MVP membership, mate.
Absolutely. Visit believeinfantasy.com. But back to the draft, mate. So you've gone LeBron James, 40 years old. A lot of people are predicting a decline, but people are predicting his decline every single year.
Yeah, look, if he's going to be pissed off in the Lakers, fair enough. I still don't think he sucks because he doesn't want to suck. If he's not engaged, fine. He takes a slide. But let's say we do the Jimmy Butler thing where then LeBron James gets traded randomly, like he waves his claws or something during the, I don't know what kind of shenanigans can happen. Nothing would cease to amaze me with LeBron. But if that happens, we saw how re-engaged guys like Jimmy Butler were. So if he does get traded to a team in a situation, he could go off his absolute rocker and be a first-round player like he was last year. So let's not take away from the fact that when we look at last year and LeBron James and what happened before or after, LeBron James last year was an absolute fantasy dynamo. LeBron James last year finished as the 20th best player over the course of the full season. And we know that there were guys in and out of lineups. We know that the Lakers had to absolutely push the whole way through to make the position that they did. We know that guys had bumps here, but we know LeBron James, again, in the last 3 months of the season, was the 20th best player in fantasy basketball. He gets Luka, who comes in, is the 9th best player in fantasy basketball in the last 2 months. LeBron James, he's still up there. So seeing him fall outside that with what he can do across, he was the 13th best player in the last 2 months when Luka arrived. That's massive. That's huge.
Yeah, and you're looking at Fantrax ADP at 20, so that's bang on. ESPN, which we know leans towards points leagues, it's 10.5. So we almost need to discount that because this is a 9-cat head-to-head mock draft. But I like it. It's stable. Yes, he's 40, which is my age as well. So shout out to those 40-year-olds. I like that perfect pair. Yeah,
so do I. And that's where I went with it because it was a 3rd-round reversal we lent to in after this. Now, for those who are unfamiliar of 3rd-round reversal, in a traditional snake draft, I would be able to then lead off the 3rd round right here. Now, a guy who I would even have to entertain the thought of taking it the 3rd round with where he is going in drafts was Cooper Flagg. So for me, I'm like, if I was here, Cooper, to be fair, was in my list. So I had him here. So guys who were in my queue around here were guys like Tyler Hero. I had Miles Turner in there. I had Jamal Murray, who I picked up. I had Jalen Brunson if he fell to me. But it is a third round reversal led by Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey going there to Alex Baratha, who I see in this. Kingy, his homeboy, he wanted to take him back with Dyson Daniels. Derek White, Paolo Banchero, who we know is a points league specialist. This is where it goes. Noah Rubin, high on Alperen Şengün, one would say is the biggest anomaly here.
Yeah, but I know Noah, he's a huge dynasty player,
Yeah, he is.
huge dynasty guy. So I know that
big dynasty guy.
Şengün, in terms of a dynasty, that's great. That's really good. In terms of redraft, we know there's some holes in his game. Even his -1 9-cat rankings probably isn't there. It's probably in that 80th or so range as well. So I think this is too high for Şengün. But you look at his team, he's drafted Doncic, he's drafted Sabonis, he's gone for a punt free throw build. So Şengün won't hurt him as much in the third round.
And this is where, like De'Aaron Fox, I think it's probably a little bit too early from rebate, but I definitely see him having value around San Antonio. We've seen him return some form of value around the third, fourth round previously in category leagues, especially towards the tail ends of season. My big shock here was seeing Josh take Tyler Hero, who I hadn't heard any other analyst be high on Hero apart from me. Well, yeah, you know that you mean. I'm like, I had to talk you into Hero, and I love it. You're like,
you didn't have to talk me into it. He's in my dynasty league. He helped me win, so he's my hero.
Him. He is your hero with two R's. Look, and seeing this was proof in the pudding for me that I wasn't off beat, because I do see him as a top 30 player this year, and so seeing him right here fall outside the top 30, I think Josh got great value on Tyler Hero here. Pairing him up with Shea, I love it. Pairing him up with Mobley, I love it. Takes away the deficiencies of field goal percentage for him a little bit. Now, again, not high assist guys with like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Mobley, but, decent free throw percentage, all-round game. And I think Hero can bring that, especially by terms of steals, because, as I said, low-key, over a steal a game, he's got that. Pascal Siakam from Eric there. This was the big surprise for me. I either thought that I was going. Now, I know that Josh said maybe he goes in the third round. Maybe he didn't want to go in the third round. I took Cooper Flagg here. I'm surprised that I got him. I'm not going to lie. I thought that something was going wrong. I had to start checking my Twitter notifications very quickly to be like, has he died? And is no one as high on him this year? Look, and then I was thinking where I have him on my draft board at the end of the day. I kind of wanted to stick my flag in Cooper Flagg. I see him being a top, I see him around the 75-ish, 50 to 75, potentially. I see him being high there. Now, that's safe. But this is where, if you need to take Cooper Flagg come draft day, this is where you take him. And projections, depending on where they have Cooper Flagg, this can not make or break taking Cooper Flagg this early, but you're going to have to go in the third round or fourth round now, 100% to be able to pick him up, aren't you, D-Mac?
You are, and as much as I love his fantasy game, I don't think I'm going to have Cooper Flagg on many of my teams, just because his ADP is around that mark into the third round. I think with preseason hype, we're going to see a lot more, I guess, flashiness, and people are going to go, "Oh, wow, that's shiny, that's brand new." We're going to take him in the second round, and I think that's where he's going to end up, perhaps end of second round, even perhaps middle of second round, and that's too rich for my liking. It kills off all value if there is any. I have seen some projections as well. I don't know where you have him in your projections. You mentioned maybe a top 75, but
yeah, I had him at 52 in my first. I had him at 52 in my first draft, and then, to be fair, I have bumped him back down over time based on Kyrie's absence, because I think Kyrie actually helps him. So I have put him down on my draft board slightly, but I know that if I want him to complement this build of all-round players, that this is where I'm going to have to take him. And it didn't do me a disservice, because now I managed to pick up some value right here. And I know Josh was hoping for it, because he called him out the headmaster. I wanted him on my list. Jamal Murray. Miles Turner, I think this is value from Eric. Brandon Miller. I'm curious on this one by Josh. What do you think this is early for Brandon Miller, or do you think we finally get Brandon the season that we want from a Charlotte Hornets team we want to like? But I see him as a top 50-ish player. Like, this is a round where you're going to have to grab him.
I think so. And we saw flashes last season, and he had those stretches where he was fantastic. He was wonderful. Field goals, Yeah, it hurt you a little bit, but the way that he's built his team, this is Josh. He's got SGA, he's got Mobley, he's got Hero. There, that's a good foundation in terms of field goals. So he gets Brandon Miller, he gets that boost in points and threes. He's a flashy player. I think he's a top 20 dynasty type of player as well.
100%.
The upside is still there, even taking him that early. And from what I recall, I think Josh was saying he was taking him a little bit earlier, but he was making it a point of taking Miller here just to let everyone know that he is high on him.
Yeah, and I love him this season as well. So for me, this is probably right around where you're going to have to start reaching for some of these guys. Again, this is what we start to see the reaches, isn't it? The Cooper Flags of the world. This is the Tyler Heroes of the world, the Brandon Millers of the world. The Ja Morant we're noticing going higher this year without the absence of Desmond Bane. The Bam Adebayo, what happens? But mention the aforementioned Desmond Bane, here he is. And in quick succession, and this is what we're seeing in drafts, and you and I mentioned it this week, it's almost like people are fiddling between their Orlando Magic players. Within 4 picks, you can see that Franz Wagner's gone at the 11th pick here. So this is where your Orlando Magic second bananas are going to go. Second and third bananas to Bane are going to be in the 4th round. In between the bananas, Trey Murphy, potentially early with New Orleans, but a great pick here. I think great things for him. I love this. I had him in my queue because you and I have both seen Kawhi draft. This is some good drafting right here from Steve St. Pierre to pick up Leonard in the 4th round.
Yeah, Steve again, dominating there. He must have listened to us as well because we're high on Kawhi. He's coming into preseason healthy for the first time in a long time as well. So that all bodes well. We know that he can be a first-round type of guy per game. It's about staying on the court. With the older Clippers, I think he'll do that as well. I think he's got enough support. So getting him in the 4th round, I think it's wonderful.
And this begins Kingy's redemption of his field goal percentage after the previous pick of Trey Young, being instead of people with Jalen Williams, Dyson Daniels, Zubac, Wagner, who we mentioned, and then Joel Embiid, another one of these guys who, how many games does he play? Is he healthy? Is he not? Barbecue chicken picking him up here. This is risky in the 4th round at the end of it. But again, there's 2 first-round players going off the board in the 4th round with Leonard and Joel Embiid, if healthy and if playing. This is also feeds into he's picked up very well here on Zion Williamson. He slides traditionally in drafts. I don't see him going outside the 5th round this year, and he kicks it off before Alex Baratha. Love this Garland, putting him into IR straight away. No problem there. Kessler, Vucevic, this is fine. This is average Vucevic territory. OG Anunoby, this is what I love. I love that I think this was one of his best picks. Picking up Kristaps Porzingis, who again is healthy going into the season, mate. Picking him up here in the 5th round, 6th pick, like it a lot.
I like it. I know you're big on him. I think you said he's projected to be a top 25 guy for you. Not sure how many games he plays, but yeah, by all accounts, he is healthy. We had somewhat of a mystery illness while he was still at the Celtics at the end of last season as well. But by all accounts, he is coming into the season healthy. We know that he is a wonderful 9-cat category player. So I think getting him in the middle of the 5th is really solid value. So as long as he can stay on the court, and I think him alongside of a Kongwu, it can work. I think maybe one of our shows you mentioned he could possibly even come off the bench. Even if he did do that, I think he's going to have high usage as well. So that's
I think a Kongwu is going to come off the bench. I don't know if they'll start him at power forward, but I think a Kongwu will get some late value, especially with all the absences that Porzingis could have. Here's a really great handcuff. Look, in the next round here, Austin Reeves, like this pick here. Markkanen, I like the Reeves one. Markkanen, it's okay. I like the Butler pick here by Rebate. I like this, and I like Denny Advia here. Again, I don't like many Portland players this season, but if their name for me in Portland is either Denny Advia, I'm okay with it. If it's Tamori Kamara, I'm okay with it. If it's Shaden Sharp, I'm okay with it. Or even if it's Drew Holiday, I'm okay with it because I see those guys as being their top 100 players. So this is where I see it shapes out as being. That comes back to my next pick here of Josh Hart. Picked up Josh Hart with the 5th round. This could be either reaching high for him, but again, right now I'm just trying to load my team up with the rebounds and assists. And I don't see Josh Hart I see him being down on last season because, again, a breakout start, not a breakout start, but just a fantasy start that people are picking up off their waiver wire or in the top one, like outside the top 100 last year, D-Mac.
Yeah, he was an MVP for a lot of people because he was taken so late in drafts. But do you expect that the Knicks are going to reduce his minutes a fair bit? Is he actually going to come off the bench this season? So are you taking him here? You obviously think he's still going to be a starter and playing big minutes.
I think we spoke about this in your show, in the Breaking Down the Yahoo Rankings show. Make sure you check that one out. We talk about the Knicks and their outlook fantasy-wise with their top guys, and who their big banana is Jalen Brunson. Even though it's Karl Anthony Towns who gets that better return in fantasy, and we see him as like the best fantasy player, I see Jalen Brunson as the team best player. So we need to separate church and state here. And I know under Mike Brown, they might play less minutes, and that's part of the reason they were unhappy with Thibs. But I do see him playing 32 to 34 minutes a night still. I see that still being very much the case. I see guys who coming in like Gershon Yabusele, maybe is one of the only guys who really cracks that value. And I see Clarkson being like a bit of a scorcher off the bench. So I do think there is a role for him. I don't think we're seeing the triple-double average kind of thing that we saw from him last year, but I definitely see a top 85 return for me. And here, if I'm getting that amount of assists and rebounds that I needed, this is what I really want to try and solidify here more than anything else. And I probably left some things on the table, but I was okay with it because I pivoted quite quickly into getting another center here. Jarrett Allen's still on the board for me in the 6th round, which is when we've started to see centers go off in the 5th and the 6th round. So here we go. We can see Mark Williams going off now here to Josh. Like that pick, he was in my queue in Phoenix. We see DeAndre Ayton going. We see Jalen Duren going here. We see Sarr going again, getting those big minutes there. And Mikal Bridges very early for barbecue chicken. Because if we look now and we skip right through this, other guys in the round, Kobe White, Fred VanVleet, Julius Randle, Jordan Poole here to Noah Rubin. Cam Johnson, like this. Again, I think Cam Johnson is better in Denver than he was in Brooklyn because Denver is a winning organization. And I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be worse off fantasy-wise in Brooklyn this year.
I agree with that. I think Cam Johnson per game last season was fantastic. But the fact that the Nets were tanking, let's be honest, they were tanking. Cam Johnson didn't play out the season. I think he's in a great spot. He hasn't historically been the most healthy guy, but I think being surrounded by a bunch of professionals, some winners in the past as well, I think getting him in the 6th round, good, really good.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see here right now on the greens, if you're watching via YouTube, if you're listening, I'll count up the greens for you in these 2 rounds. Now, again, 12 rounds, greens are this. Greens indicate center position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is basically that is one whole entire round waxed off the board between 2 rounds of centers. Because at the end of this one, we pick up here, oh no, look, add Donovan Cleveland. That's 12. That's a whole round. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 11. That's pretty much an entire round of centers go off the board here. Because following that at the end of the round with Mikal Bridges in the end of the 6th round, we've got Onyeka Okongwu, who we've mentioned, Donovan Clingan, Jakob Poeltl, Rudy Gobert, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Nick Claxton going off the board. Pilfering that in, Peyton Pritchard in the 7th round, Steve St. Pierre, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan going off. Big upside here for Josh with Buzelis. Do you see similar upside for Buzelis this year that he sees, or this is a bit of an early flyer to the state of Chicago?
I think it's fine. 7th round, there is upside to Buzelis, and we saw again, there was probably a stretch of 2 weeks where he was a must roster guy. Yeah. He tapered off towards the end of the season, but I think he's got a lot more to do in Chicago this season. He's got that rookie season off the board. He was impressive. So I think in his sophomore season, it is onwards and upwards for him, and the upside is there.
Yeah, now look, last year he finished on a per-game basis the 256th best player, according to Josh, and this year he is going to be shooting up the ranking board. So picking him up around here is about the same. So people are like, oh, geez, that's super early on him. It's because people are expecting him to eclipse like 150 spots of value, 100 and something spots of value. And that could very well happen. Very safe picking here. He was in my queue. Tobias Harris, safe as houses Harris. But right now, begging in the 7th round, this is in the 80s. Picking up Miles Bridges here. I know that I think Josh was toying up with him. For me, I am eating up Miles Bridges' value if he's in the 80s in my fantasy draft. I'm like, you know what? Who else have they got apart from Brandon Miller and my old mate? This here, I see as a top 75 player. He's fallen out of a one place of value instantly, this is some good eating right about here for Miles Bridges.
I agree. I think it's a wonderful pick by you. Even if he does take a step back, we've got Kneppel there as well, but he's safe. And it's not, we always talk about getting value at each pick. It doesn't have to be every single pick. If you can get value at various stages of your draft, you'll be a playoff contender. Miles Bridges at this stage, at worst, he's a top 85 guy. So I think the fact that you've got him at the end of the 7th round is very safe with potential upside as well.
Now, here's what I'm really wanting to lean in to get another point guard. I want to get some steals up on the board. And here I've gone into a guy who I can get by 1.5 get. And I really hope that he plays. It's Jalen Suggs. I know his field goal percentage probably hurts me, but I do like what he does. And I like his. Now, look, he's not the flashiest assist guy. He only averages around 3 a game, but I do expect more playmaking coming out of him in Orlando with the assistance of Desmond Bane this year and spreading the floor there a little bit. So I do like Suggs. So I picked him up here as a defensive complement. I did have in my queue, I did have Nembhard. And I was staring down the barrel of, do I take Andrew Nembhard or do I take Jalen Suggs? And I know that I could get a 30 piece and get some extra points on the board with my Nembhard. And I know I could probably get more assists out of him and similar steal numbers, probably a better field goal percentage. It's who would you have taken here? Because this was the one pick for me, man, that I was like, do I take Suggs? Do I take Nembhard? I think they're both probably just outside they're fringy top 100 players. But then I'm looking at the rest of this round, like Ingram, Porter, Brown, Vassell, Cam Thomas. Norm Powell was the only one here I had a little bit of envy around. Collins, Kamara, and Kelly Ware. At the back of it, point guards start to get a little bit thin around these parts.
Yeah, you spoke about the run of centers sort of in that 4th, 5th round. We saw the run of point guards in that 1st, 2nd round. And like you said, come 7th, 8th round, trying to get a decent point guard that can get you decent efficiency, steals, decent assists, it comes hard. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Suggs v. Nembhard. Again, I've got a soft spot for Nembhard. 30 deep dynasty league, he helped me last season. And without Halliburton, there's a lot of upside there. But again, our pace is going to be competitive enough to be able to get him to 70 plus games. He's still a young guy. What is he, mid-20s, 25, 26? I like Nembhard, but I'm also okay with your Suggs pick. So, yeah.
I see Orlando being I see Orlando being very competitive. It's also a little bit risky because I know Suggs does have an injury past, but this is the pick there. We finished off that round there, as we said, rounding up to guys like, again, Kelly Ware. People were saying to pilfer these centers now that they haven't got one yet because we go to Anthony Simons, Jaden McDaniels, Jalen Green around here is interesting, Tara Eason, Isaiah Jackson. I think it's either him or Huff that starts. And we had this conversation previously. I think it could be Huff, or I think Huff could be the guy with the floor spacing that they're used to with the team. The more I think about it, the more that I'm thinking that J Huff provides more of a similar game to Miles Turner than Isaiah Jackson. Not by much. I see them both doing a bit of a minute share between like 22 minutes a night each. Like, one may get 25 one night if they're rolling 26 and the other's minutes go down. But I think they're both outside the top 120 at the end of the day. But if you need a center and you need one late, this is where they're going to go off the board because otherwise you're banking on Zach Edey and his injuries. And I think Zach Edey is going to be a lot better this year, to be fair. But this is what the kind of dangerous game you start playing with starting centers at this point in the time.
Yeah, look, I'd prefer Edey at this point, but I'm huge on Isaiah Jackson. He signed a 3-year deal that shows the confidence the organization has in Ijax. Yeah. But I think getting him in the 9th round, yes, it is lower risk because it is the 9th round. It's relatively late. I don't think you need to grab him that early, to be honest, and I much prefer Zach Edey.
So do I. And this is before guys like Bilal Coulibaly going off, Asar Thompson before that, Scoot Henderson around this time, Benedict Mathurin, Jaden Ivey, probably way too early by rebate on him. I think well out. I think, look, I want good things for Ivey, but I still think he is like a fringe, like late round flyer out like the 150s. You take a stab in the dark like you did last year on him. Zach Edey, I think great value from Josh here. I think is one of his, to be honest, I think he's actually one of his best picks of the draft because I know he felt a little bit dirty about Brandon Ingram, but picking up a top 50 player outside the top 100, returning double the amount of value, This is what we spoke about earlier with the Josh Harts from last year. You know, if you can get a guy outside the top 100 that's going to top 50 value, you're just eclipsing value. And I think Zach Edey could do that this year on Memphis, followed up by Malik Monk. And here's someone who I really think who could, I don't know if you're as high on him as I am, but picking him up right here outside the top 100, I think Shaedon Sharpe has some real potential this year in Portland, not just because they're Portland, but because we saw it last year in Spates. And I think he takes another improvement in his game again. And look, in the last month of last season, in the last 2 weeks of last season, of course, it was silly season. He was a top 60 player. I think we do see some more from this Portland team and him this year.
Yeah, and it's a good boost in your points as well. Shaedon Sharpe is going to be one of the guys. He was on and off of waiver wires last season. I think he'll have more consistency this season as well. So I don't mind it there, but I really like your next one.
Yeah, look, it's Kyrie Irving with the 10th pick. And I think Josh reacted and was like, what are you doing there? Like, what are we doing? Well, what am I doing is I'm knowing my league settings. So there was three positions. Now, we don't know at this point when it was his ACL injury. Now, when does he come back? There's been rumors that he could be back in January. I wanted to lock him down because I see this guy as a top 75 player. There were 3 spots of IR. Now, when you've got 3 spots of IR, and I'm used to streaming out of 2 spots of IR, for me, I can use that. Kyrie Irving will probably be drafted on draft day. I don't want to let him go too far because I know what he could return me. I am not expecting him back in March. I'm expecting Kyrie, if Dallas is semi-competitive, to return around the time that he should have been, around January, February, with a ramp up, no back-to-backs, and that's fine. They've got 14 back-to-backs over the course of the season with the Dallas Mavericks. A lot of them are out of the way by then. If I can stream him in and then put him back into IR on those back-to-backs, great. I bring a streamer in. I use that one spot every week. I factor that into my game plan. But this is a guy who could return second round value when he plays.
And Matty, you hit the nail on the head. I think knowing your league settings is the key takeaway from this 10th round. Getting Kyrie here, yeah, we don't really know when he's going to come back. But if he is back for those playoffs, and let's assume that you're going to make playoffs, it's a strong team, he could be the game changer come playoff time as well.
And that's what I was banking on here. Now, I do have to survive without that. Again, in your league, what's your league setting? Do you have to just win week to week, or how many categories do you have to win as well to put yourself into playoff contention? You want to pay attention to these nuances of your fantasy game to make the most out of that, and that's where you can get it back in. Guys here with some upside like Cole Anthony, I'm surprised he went off the board before Kevin Porter Jr. in Milwaukee, who I think is the favored starting point guard. I like this from Josh in the LA Clippers with Brad Beal. He was in my queue. I liked him here, but after already taking guys like Hart, previously Shaedon Sharpe, I got Sharpe instead of my Beal. Sharpe was my Beal, so I traded off there to solidify that. DiVincenzo, Derek Lively. And you can start to see some more of these guys going off the board who are the consistent names. Draymond Green, Collier, D'Lo, starting point guard in Dallas, Drew Holiday, DeJounte Murray. Kingy now thinking like I was thinking, because I had Murray, you and I were thinking, you could probably could I have taken DeJounte Murray first here, knowing that he will come back sooner? This is the question. Battle of a gun. On draft day, you're at the 10th pick. You're the first pick in the 10th round. So you know the first 100 guys are off the board. You know when DeJounte Murray will come back. It is most likely and probably before Kyrie Irving. Do you take DeJounte Murray or do you take Kyrie Irving?
I think it comes down to the strength of your team. And because you've got Jokic, you've got LeBron, Jamal Murray, it's a very strong team. So I like having Kyrie Irving because he can get you close to that first round value per game. But if you had a team that wasn't as strong and you needed more bodies on the field or on the court, DeJounte, you know his timeline. Well, we don't exactly know it, but we're assuming that he's coming back before Kyrie. I would go there. So I hate to say it depends, but it does depend for me, just based on the strength of your previous picks.
Yeah, and this is where I'm like starting to take a couple little gambles, and I'm running into the church at this point in time because we've got guys like that who all come off the board. Kevin Porter Jr., which I mentioned in this round. So this is like, oh, wait a second. Is Kevin Porter Jr. still there? If Cole Anthony's gone, wait, Kevin, And like, oh no, he's still there. That's great
and I
picking
know
up by Alex Baratha.
Alex Barutha, yeah, he's huge on Kevin Porter Jr. We've seen a lot of tweets from him recently. Kevin Porter Jr. versus Cole Anthony, I've got the edge to Cole Anthony, and that's how it's played out in this draft. Do you think KPJ starts ahead of Cole Anthony, or can they play alongside of each other?
Yeah, I do. No, look, I don't think they start alongside each other. I've got Kevin Porter Jr. above him. I think KPJ, having been there, is the guy. I think we see Cole Anthony play. I think the guy is going to be KPJ, and I think he is going to be one of the, mark my words, man, KPJ will be one of the last starting point guards off your draft boards. We've seen the other guys like Nembhard go off the board, Pritchard off the board. People are going to be looking around for starting point guards, guys getting minutes. I think we are in line for a lot, like 28 to 31, 32 minutes of KPJ minutes a night. Like, he's going to be out there a lot. I think you can say 30 minutes-ish a night is fair. Anywhere between 28 and 30, because I don't think we see Cole Anthony absorbing more than like 20-ish a game. And if that does become the case, well, it becomes the case. And then we could probably pick up Cole Anthony on our waiver wire.
Yeah, it's interesting with KPJ. He showed some efficiency last season with the Bucks, where in years gone past, we knew of him as being, he's great in points leagues. He's going to kill you with efficiency. He wasn't really that guy. And it was limited, or I guess a reduced role at the Bucks last season. Can he maintain that efficiency in a more prominent role, likely a starting role? Remains to be seen. But you have high hopes for him.
Look, I don't know if they're high. I just think they're the incumbent point guard minutes they're going to be associated with the role at a time. So I'm not going to be like, oh, you must draft KPJ. He's going to win your league and espouse him from like, oh, you idiot. You had him there in the 10th round. You pass him up. No, look, I think he probably might be a top 120 at best player because of those inefficiencies. He could eclipse that and blow me. And mark my words, if he's a top 50 player by the end of the day, I think we'll all count our lucky stars. But around here to go before Cole Anthony as being the starter, that I'm not so sure about, especially because getting points late in drafts, that's something to be seen. Coming up now, we've got Jabari Smith Jr., Eve Misi. We've got guys starting to take flyers here. Naz Reid, Kayshawn George from Washington, Ace Bailey, another rookie off the board here. Cam Whitmore, I love that upside potentially this year. Could be. I picked him up in an auction draft with Kingy, mate. Guess how much I picked up Cam Whitmore for?
I know it was $1 because I'm in that draft as well. But it was $1.
It was $1. And I see him being a $1 player this year. I don't see him being that bad. I see him being a top 120 player. And so for me to get a $1 guy, a 120 player that I could pick up the waiver wire, I'm okay with that. So I'm kind of into the Whitmore train around. I'm like, toot, let's jump aboard the Cam Whitmore train. So this is my chance to do it. And so I did it and took him. So I was very happy picking up him right about here, making my way back through the draft at this point. This is some good value picking up guys like Cam Whitmore around here. Like this is good eating.
It is good eating. There's some other guys that are eating here as well. I don't mind Andrew Wiggins right here as well.
Yep.
Ricochet, I don't know. This one does depend on if he's going to start as well. And Okongwu, KP, Ricochet, who's going to start out of those three remains to be seen. I'm not so sure on Ricochet. I think there's too much usage elsewhere for him to be effective. So I probably wouldn't get him in this round. I'd probably much prefer Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, look, I think Wiggo actually is brilliant. We've actually seen him almost go undrafted. You and I saw a draft the other week. We were like, wait a minute, no one drafted. Like, it's a 140 and no one's touched Andrew Wiggins. Look, top 110 player, 100%. So late, we don't know what's going on with Miami. I understand the instability there in the organization and what's happening, but still around here, you can't get anything wrong. I may have got it wrong with Stephen Castle because this is now where I'm in the church. I'm like, you know what? I'm swinging for some upside. I needed some points late. I know Dylan Harper's in town. I know they've just re-upped they did the De'Aaron Fox deal. I just wanted some more potential upside. I've taken Castle here. In my queue, I had guys like Jared McCain, and I'm probably kicking myself that I didn't take Jared McCain. That was the one that I was fumbling for, that I was like really like, oh, gee, idiot G. I like Jared McCain. I really want to pick him up. I don't know if he's going to be the best fantasy player, but this is where we're talking these upside guys now. And your last three picks, if you don't like them, the rule should be you drop them and you move on with your life. Last three or four guys, and this being almost my third last guy, I'm okay with it.
I agree. This is upside territory here. Stephon Castle, yeah, you're right. Let's probably pay attention. But you're in church. You got to be paying attention to
Christening.
whoever's running. Yeah, the christening. The christening. It's very important. You could have taken Caldwell Pope as another one, not Armin Thompson and Christian Braun, but Stephon Castle, yeah, I'd much prefer McCain over Castle. Filikowski, I like this one. I really do like this one, particularly with the shenanigans that we're likely to see at the Jazz.
Yeah, look, I think he did return some value last year. I know people aren't as high as him, and I am. This is where I'm really trying to add, like, okay, well, who can I get some big rebounds late, some points late, and boy, that field goal percentage. This is what Kyle does. I know he hurts there. I had guys like, I did have some other guys in here, like maybe like CJ McCollum, who I actually think could be pretty decent this year in Washington. Yep. And so this is like where and this is where I'm playing around with this. So again, doing this draft again, seeing where other guys have got him. Look, I could have picked up CJ. He might hurt my free throw percentage. It kind of fits in. His field goal percentage isn't great. But if he can get me some rebounds and assists, this is the flyer and late horses like Dennis Schroeder, starting point guard of Sacramento. Are we taking him here? No. Like we have to, because who else are we going to take? We've guys like Carl Brenner for Charlotte, potential starter. This is one that I like. If Carl Brenner starts, this is fly territory from Kinga. If he starts, this could be really interesting here.
Yeah, I don't mind Carl Brenner's game. We just don't know if he's going to start. We've got Diabate as well that potentially could start for the Hornets. So we will see, but I don't mind it. Again, it's upside territory. And yeah, I know that Kingy has been quite high on Carl Brenner at this stage.
Yeah, he saw him in Vegas, said he looked every bit good, and this was his opportunity to take him and put his flag in the Carl Brenner train. Guys like Santi Aldama getting more opportunity in Memphis. Kuminga, at 144. So this is 12th round, 12th player. In a lot of leagues, this is like your last active roster spot or potentially the end of your roster spot, being 12 deep if it's a 10-person league. So if you have this guy, if you've drafted this player, if this guy is on your roster, if you've drafted Kuminga here, it's probably a decent shout right about now, mate.
Definitely. I think that is the upside. But are you waiting for a trade to potentially happen for him to actually break out? Probably at this stage. Yep. And again, at this point of the draft, like you said, if things aren't working out, you move on. You move on quickly. But if you think there is that upside, why not go for it? There's no harm at this point. The risk is extremely low.
Look, the last two rounds is you can do what you like, basically. This is the rule. Last two rounds, we've got guys like rookie. We've got TJ McConnell getting some minutes. We've got Edgecombe. We've got Derek Queen. We've got Malawach. We've got Marcus Smart, who could start in LA. And I did like this pick here by Hoop Wizard late in the draft because, again, I think there's every chance that Marcus Smart does start for the Lakers. I think he's got some good potential there. Don't think he's a 150 player. I think that this is fine for him if you want, but I'm pretty sure you're going to toss him back in the ocean like a fish. Young Hansen Yang. We've got Demin. We've got Gordon. We've got, this is I like. We've got George, Utah. This is another one of these late Utah picks here that I know Collier had the better season. Again, what does Utah do? We don't really want to touch them, but Keontae, late point guard, see where he goes. If there's some upside this year, you accept it right about here.
Absolutely. It's the assist boost as well that you may need. It's Josh again. So he's gone Scottie Pippen Jr. and then Keontae George in 2 consecutive picks there. I like that. George, again, like we said, if things don't work out, you move on very quickly.
And again, he's taken a couple of point guards here late. As you can see that his only other point guard he took in the first round here with the first pick. So you don't always need to lean into a point guard, but you can see that he's drafted with another, I guess, point guard, shooting guard eligibility with Tyler Hero. Danny Advia has that shooting guard, but more of a forward presence and a lot of forwards through the line without peering into some guard action later on. I like the pick from Eric Collins Sexton. It is not every single day, and I know that I say this, but it's not every single day that we espouse the glory that is one Collins Sexton. But if you can tell me a player that can score you 20 points a game this late in your draft, I'll sit and wait because you won't be able to. He can really give you some upside and swing for your fences late. And if you're getting Colin Sexton here, especially if he starts beside LaMelo Ball or LaMelo Ball goes out injured and he becomes the point guard in Charlotte, this is a guy who we have seen, given a role, given similar situation, can return you top 50, 60 upside late in a draft.
Potentially, I think closer to the top 100, and that's fine. That's still value at this point of the draft. Round 13, Colin Sexton, like you said, there's potential that he does start alongside LaMelo.
Yeah, look, there is a potential for it. We're not going to hope that it's the case, but we can definitely see that he has had stronger fantasy seasons as well. Now, last year, again, we know that in Utah, there were shenanigans. He's moved to a similar situation, one would say, not a great team, but this is a guy who we have seen on a per 36 basis put up some incredible numbers before. We've seen him last year in the last couple of weeks of the season. He was like a top 35 player, and he's never really been a tremendous fantasy asset apart from the 23-24 season, where he finishes the 67th best player, playing 26 minutes a night in Utah. He played 78 games, 25 points a game. So do I see him being able to carve out a similar role? I do. And if that's the case, if LaMelo goes down again like he might or he could, and Sexton takes that and they roll out the rest of everybody else and he is the lead point guard there, I don't see another guy getting per 36 stats around 22, 25 points a game. Like, his numbers that way are amazing. And those were his per 36. He was the 67th best player. I don't see him playing 36 minutes a night, but could he, in the absence of LaMelo Ball, get 32, 33, 30 minutes a night? Maybe. And here, late, you kind of got to take it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he plays ahead of Trey Mann as well. We saw Trey Mann have some injury concerns last season. The under-over for LaMelo Ball and number of games as well is, what is it? Is it probably 40, maybe 50? Again, are we trusting that he's going to play a lot of the season? We probably don't trust it as high as he is going, and his ADP is getting up there. I think it's a decent shout at this point. It's Colin Sexton. Top 100 upside for me. And
talking about getting up there, Chubb for Bub is in a full effect. If you want to roster him, Chubb for Bub, he could possibly be on your roster in the last round. These are the last flyers. And D-Mac, where would you say I finished in the projections for this one?
Well, you sound pretty chirpy about it. So I'm going to say probably third to fourth, 3, 4, 5, perhaps.
There you go. Well, I'm not chirpy about it. I was okay with it. I'm like, this is not gone exactly 100% to plan. These last picks I could have done better. There was a couple of guys on my roster that was like, do I not? I was okay with it. But they all ended up going to plan. I ended up finishing with this team, the Jokic build. Again, Jokic, LeBron James, Cooper Flagg, Jamal Murray, Josh Hart, Jarrett Allen, Miles Bridges, Jalen Suggs, Shaedon Sharpe, Kyrie Irving. Those are the core of my picks. I can interchange my last 4 here. Pick them as you wish. That's a great build. That's my Jokic build.
I love the Jokic. The build is wonderful. Yeah, the build is good. Well deserving of 3. Not to mention you've got Kyrie to come in and get you that championship late season.
100%. If you know your roster settings, if you do have 3 AR spots and you can stream out of 2 and you can put I went straight in for my draft, and that one I added DeAndre Hunter after the draft. Someone who I can see in Cleveland this year playing a absolute ton of minutes. I've gone straight on afterwards, picking him up late in my draft. Maybe he finishes.
I love that you do that for a mock. You are so dedicated that you've done that in a mock like it's a real draft. I love that. I did.
I'm like, what am I going to do if it's going to be? Well, I'm going to pick up DeAndre Hunter, a top 120 player, put him into my roster straight away, and I'll be good to go. And you'll be good to go as long as you like and subscribe to all things Believe in Fantasy. I am Matt. This is Mac. It's Matt and Mac. It's D-Mac and Matty G right here, guys. Man, take care. What do you got in the pipeline, D-Mac?
Yeah, we're going to keep working on our stuff for Believe in Fantasy, and we've got a couple of projects in the pipeline as well. So watch this space. Check me out on X or Twitter at NBA Fantasy Bible, and of course on YouTube.
Take care. Get your wins. Be well. We'll see you really soon right here on Believe in Fantasy.